It looks like I am joined by Lauren. Hello.
Yeah. Hi, so nice to be here. We did it.
We did it. Happy Sunday night. I'm so
Yeah,
excited to have you here with me for
yeah,
the
I'm
Sunday
thrilled
night
to be here. I
live
was just thinking, even
stream.
as I was setting up, I'm like, oh, it's going to be dark. I need to think about this. I don't usually go live on this time, so it's great to be here.
Okay.
Yeah.
This has been my favorite time to go live, and hopefully people watching agree because it's just the best way to set up your week for success. It's like just a way to ease in, like the weekend's over, but let's get intentional and really think about where we're looking to go next. So I'm so excited and honored you're here to join me today. Why don't you do a quick introduction for those of us who have never met you before?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, I see some folks saying hello. It's lovely to be here.
Yes.
So my name is Lauren. I met Allison at a conference in California, and she had just this beautiful energy, and I was thrilled to be able to chat with her and learn more about what she did. So if you are new to me, welcome. Hello. My name is Lauren, and I am a business consultant. So I help entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, course creators, things like that. I help them build systems, run their business in a way that feels aligned, in a way that feels intuitive and intentional, so they can scale and so they can do it with more time freedom too, so that they have more space and just more room for
I love
creativity.
that so much. And I know that a lot of people watching can definitely resonate with needing more, and we keep using the term structured flow, but
Mm-hmm.
just kind of creating that container for, there's the things that need to get done, the things that we want to get done, and the things that we want to experience. We want to have this flow in our lives. So to kind of hear that you combine all of that seems so aligned for our topic this week. So,
Totally. I think even like just thinking about where you even are on the spectrum of
mhm.
if you're a person who really likes a lot of structure, or you're really free flowing, or you're somewhere in the middle. Like I know it sounds like Allison and I are probably in the middle with that structured flow, but
Mhm.
even identifying where you're at with that, because that's will be something that we kind of dive deeper into today, is where you land on that kind of spectrum and how you can set up your week that is aligned and works for you.
Absolutely. And you keep using my favorite word, which is aligned. So I'm very excited to announce the doors to my group program, Align Me, will be opening tomorrow. So really excited about just helping people who are used to doing it all on their own make their lives so much easier. I think about, and Lauren, I don't know if you resonate with this, where maybe there was like a past version of you that was kind of going through either these changes or like you've become the person that you are today. And I think back to the way that I used to live my life. And that's kind of an inspiration for me and some of the people that I'm looking to help. But I just think about the ways that things do flow so much more easily now. And like I feel like I've created a container for that within my life. And part of even being here on a Sunday night and talking about the ways that we're making our lives easier, it's been an evolution to even get to this point. Do you know what I mean? Do you resonate with that where maybe that hasn't always been the case for
Totally,
you?
totally. And I don't know if you're listening, you would resonate with that too, but my I kind of came from that idea of like push and go hard and go and like work really hard.
Mhm.
Like I came from that environment. I was a competitive dancer and I would just work really hard and work, 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 work. I was always going. And I
Mhm.
came to a point where I just like the strategies that I was using. This was in my 9 to 5 life, if you're in a 9 to 5, and in my business kind of came to a head, and I just had to let everything go
Mhm.
because it just wasn't working anymore. I was so stressed out. I
Mhm.
wanted to be able to grow. I wanted to be able to have this like joyful life. I wanted to grow my family again, and I was like I just couldn't keep going the way I was going, so I had to kind of like let everything go and I guess evaluate how I was living. And that's when
Mhm.
I started to like when I came back, I'd had my son, I started to really think about like how am I going to come back into the work world and re look at my business in a way that was a lot more aligned and a lot more me, rather than feeling like I had to push and do everything that everyone else needed from me. And I think something that you would resonate with is I was doing so much of it myself,
Yeah.
and I was not looking for support. And yeah, now I'm really about really listening into like what are the things I'm really good at, what are my unique gifts, and living and really following my intuition to find out, like, is this what I'm really meant to do, rather than like just pushing all the time.
I love that so much. And the one thing that really sticks out to me is that ability to adapt without putting self blame. Because I think so often we run up against this wall where things aren't working and we're pouring our heart into what we're creating, or we're trying so hard and things aren't happening. And instead of looking at it as like, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, like these things aren't working, being able to see like maybe this just means that there's a better way. It doesn't mean that there's any limitation, that it's not indicative of me. It's not indicative of what I'm capable of. It's indicative of like you're not going about getting the things that you want in the most aligned way.
Totally. And I can see some folks writing in the chat, like, go, go, go. Like, that was 100% me. And I had this like inner dialogue of like, this isn't enough. Why can't I get this done? Like, oh, I'm failing. Like, this is like, I'm failing in this way, or I'm failing in this way. Like, I needed to be able to have everything. Like, I wanted to be the person who had it all going, like, perfectly aligned, and not aligned, like perfectly. And if I didn't hit that expectation, I would be so frustrated with myself. Like, why can't I get it together and get it more? But like that go, go, go. And yeah, I totally agree. It's because it wasn't in flow. Like, I wasn't embracing that enough.
Absolutely. And it's crazy how much more easily things happen for you when you are in flow. Just because it's like, I look at, and so that's part of what we want to talk about this week is like combining that structure and that action with flow, so that you're dealing less with like force and less actions for the sake of checking things off, and more so making tangible actual progress towards the things that will make you feel happy and fulfilled. I think that I used to really experience this sensation of like a wheel in the mud, that like a wheel that was just like not going anywhere, where you're just exerting so much force and so much effort and you're not making any progress on the things that you're looking to do. Or it's just you come to Sunday night and it's the repeat of the same cycle. It's the same things, it's the same checklist, it's the same energy, if not even worse, because time's passing and nothing's changing.
Totally. And I'm looking at some of the comments, like, yeah, like, unlearn all that messaging, like the perfection. Because the thing that I found too is like, the problem with working really hard like that and being out of alignment is you don't necessarily know what alignment feels like.
Right.
And also, it works to a certain amount. You know, like, you can hit a certain level of goal, or you can hit, and so you just think, oh, that's what I need to do more of. I just need to work harder. I just need to push more, rather than realizing actually there is a different way to go about achieving the lifestyle that you want, the goals that you want. That's not just like, yes, there's hard work, but there's also finding the right path for you. Like, I was even struck by that this weekend. I was like, I'm feeling off and I can't quite put my finger on what it is. And again, it was like, oh, I'm not quite in alignment in where I want to go. Like, I still need to like pivot, and it's a continual like refinement of it.
Yeah, it really is like a constant, and that's the one thing that I feel like I've gotten better at recently, is like using your emotions as feedback mechanisms. Whereas like if you're looking at something that you're doing and you're just getting so frustrated, instead of being, again, like instead of putting the self-blame and the self-judgment on yourself, looking at like, I need to go about this differently. Like it's changing the variable. The variable is not ever, am I good enough to do this? Can I have this? Am I worth this? It's more like, okay, what's not working in my approach towards what I'm trying to accomplish?
And seeing it, like, looking at it rather than being in it and putting all this blame on, because I can so resonate with that. It's like stepping out of it and going like, okay, what if it wasn't, like, what if I could just do it differently, like, and seeing it more objectively, rather than feeling like in it and putting in all this self-blame.
Yeah. What are your ways for like getting back into alignment if you do find yourself like forcing or struggling, or like what are you like, or that, but like number one, like how do you know when you're out of alignment? But then number two, like how do you get yourself back into it?
Totally. So literally, this was me yesterday.
Yeah. Like
So
tell us
I have
about
it
your
very fresh
yesterday,
in my mind.
please.
So I was starting to feel like I wasn't, and you can notice in your energy level and your emotions, like you're saying, I wasn't feeling sad. I wasn't feeling angry. Sometimes it is frustration and anger, but for me this time it was kind of like, I just feel off. I'm like, am I lonely? Am I angry? And I couldn't quite put my finger on what the thing was, but I just felt off. And it was my son's 7th birthday. So I was really enjoying the birthday part. But then as soon as I got alone, I was alone again. I was like, I just feel off, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. And so I started, what works for me are two things. Usually it's getting quiet and really like looking inward and leaning into my intuition. And then sometimes it's speaking to people who know me really well, like my mom or a couple of really close friends that can help too. And I realized what it was is in my work, and maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're in your 9 to 5, but in my work, I had started doing two sides of my business. I was working in consulting and coaching, which I love, and I was working doing services that are like done for you services. So like things that will create for somebody. And I realized that that was the thing that felt out of alignment for me because it's not fulfilling for me. Like fulfillment really, like the thing that really sparks joy for me and lights me up is when I'm talking to someone and I can tell they're in, like they're having a hard time or they're going through a challenge, and I can use the gifts that I have to really understand where they're at and move them through and get that like transformation, which is why I love like systems and things like that. But that's like, I'll help you do that so that you can find joy in your life. It's not like I want to talk about tech all day.
Yeah.
Which, and that's when I was like, oh, it's because and then now that I'm feeling back in alignment, I'm like, okay, this is the thing I'm really meant to do. This is what I want to focus my energy on, and not what other people are saying that I should do. It feels light, like it feels easy.
Yeah.
And then all of these ideas start to come to me. Like I just mapped out the next like 4 phases of where I want to go in my work, and I can see things so easily, and I have so much more energy. Whereas when I was out of alignment, I felt that like I was pushing, and I just didn't feel the same like level of spark.
Yes, yes, yes. And I feel this applies like both, and I want to just, yeah, I feel like this applies both to like in work and in
Totally.
life. And if you look at taking action from that place of obligation or feeling like should or like you need to do these things, it just generates icky results too. It just creates more of the things down that path.
Mm-hmm.
It creates more shoulds, it creates more obligations, and it creates more reasons to feel weird. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
like it just,
mean?
you feel like this sense of like unease or really stressful. Like I used to feel like at one point I had a membership and I was out of alignment in it, and I always had this feeling of like, I'm gonna let everyone down. What if I can't do it? What if I can't handle it? This isn't good enough. I need to work harder. And it's
Yeah.
like I had all this
Chatter.
negativity going on in my mind because it really wasn't the right thing for me to be able to really continue with.
You know, one of the things that I used to struggle with as well was like I felt like I needed external feedback on decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
not just like in the form of like people telling me what was the right path, but also like if I faced a challenge when I was creating something, I would maybe interpret it as a sign to give up. And so for example, like
Yeah.
with what happened to me today, like so I was launching my group program. I was going to call it Unshakable. And then I looked and there's like a book called that. There's like all these things called that. And I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And I just had this like, and the thing about doing work on yourself is that it's not that you don't face roadblocks, is that you can come back from them a lot
Mm-hmm.
faster. So something like that might have derailed me for a while. And then today I looked at it, it was because it was like I had already had the blueprint of what I was meant to create, and it was always aligned me, like it always was. And I had gotten away, and it was like there was this way to just get my message across so much more easily that I wasn't seeing. And so this roadblock that I could have interpreted if I was doubting myself was actually just a means of making my life so much
Mm-hmm.
easier. It was like you've already put in all of the work. Don't reinvent what doesn't need to be what doesn't need to be reinvented. And so
Yeah.
sometimes like these negative feelings or these roadblocks are just like, hey, look over this way. Like it's a slight tweak to what you're doing. You know what I mean? And kind of it sounds like with you, it was like you could have kept going down this path. Like if you felt like everything was okay, you would have kept going down a path that wasn't ultimately meant for you.
Mm-hmm. And I find too, I don't know about you, but I find like I don't always notice it the first time. I'm getting
Yeah.
more, I'd love to say that I'm getting more aware. And there are times where I can feel my intuition really easily and I can easily change course or refine. And then there are other times that I have to be like hit across the side of the head where I'm like, okay, Brian, I'll listen now. You know what I mean? Because it's scary sometimes to change from the thing that you were doing that you think you should be doing, or the thing that seems responsible, to actually following what you want to do to have that fulfillment.
It's all about like giving yourself permission to do the things. Like we all already ultimately know what the answer is.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to pretend that it's more complicated than it is, or we try to just subconsciously, sometimes we hold ourselves back because we think that it's safer to stay as we are
Mm-hmm.
instead of to do the thing that's ultimately going to get us to that next level, that's going to work, that's going to get the results we say we want, but we're maybe a little bit afraid of experiencing. And
Totally. And also, like, I think even the safety, we don't even see it necessarily as it's safer. Like, we might have another word for it. Like, my word is always, oh, it's more responsible.
mm,
I have children. It's more responsible for me to stay this course.
yes.
This is irresponsible for me to leave. Whereas now I'm like, oh no, that was just me trying to keep myself safe. Like, what's to say something is safer than, like, what if it's actually irresponsible not to, you know what I mean, versus the opposite. But I had this continued thought in my mind, which was actually fear and wanting to stay safe. But in my mind, it was like, no, this is what the society tells me is the responsible thing to do. I was a teacher before I was a business owner. That
Yes.
seemed responsible, and I should stick with it.
Ooh, I feel like mine was I just had in my head like hard work equals success. Like if you work hard, it will work out. Like just keep working hard. And so letting it be easy sometimes is what feels counterintuitive. Of like,
Mm-hmm.
wait, can it really be that easy? Am
Yeah.
I missing something?
And sometimes you can even feel guilty. Like, should it even be this easy? I didn't work hard for this. Like, is this even okay? Like, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that that really just goes with our theme this week, which is like just working with yourself and going with the flow. And I would love to kind of guide us through a quick visualization exercise to
I'm
kind
here
of envision
for it.
how we're going to experience this next week.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll leave you with some practical tips, both energetically, and then we'll just share successful ways that you can set yourself up this week. So I invite you, this will be a quick visualization where we're going to just really tap into this energy of this next week. I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes and take in a deep centering breath. And when we're breathing in, we really want to breathe into our diaphragm. We want to breathe in deep into our belly. And when you breathe in, you actually want to feel your belly expand. And then you want to breathe into your chest. And then release. We're going to breathe in like that 2 more times. So we're going to breathe in deep again, holding at the top and just letting it all go with the exhale. And so with each exhale, we're making space for this upcoming week. And I invite you to breathe in and breathe in a feeling of what you're looking to experience this week. And we're going to hold on to this and think about what the embodiment of this looks like. So we're holding at the top and we're letting go. So I want you to visualize yourself going through these next 7 days and think of the word that comes to mind. If you want to stay with the theme, you can borrow the word ease. And we're going to imagine just going through this next week, embodying the word that feels the most good for you, the most true to what you're looking to experience. It can be ease, it can be aligned. But just see yourself embodying your true essence and your true energy and just feeling all of the good things that you're looking to experience being magnetized towards you. And feel yourself making progress in a way that just feels true to you. And just see yourself just feeling the rewards of everything it's taken to get here. We have the start of a new month. We're going into the second month of the year. Just really know that setting your intention is sometimes the hard part. Sometimes that is the heavy lifting. And really breathing into your intention for this upcoming week, which can be an embodiment of your word, thinking about what you'd like to experience, releasing anything that's not serving you, and coming back into the space when you feel ready. And just know that these few breaths and these few seconds, you can always revisit this energy anytime you need a boost. You can always close your eyes. You can always choose to go within. And you can always reset. Every moment is a chance to realign. So I invite you to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and come back into the space. So I love to do like just like a second of like quick centering breath, like anytime I start to feel overwhelmed. And anytime you start to do a new task, like setting intentions are honestly one of my cheat codes for life. So I appreciate you and going through this exercise with me, but it's such a divine practice of like kind of regaining control
Mm-hmm.
in a sense. And that's one of my favorite hacks for life almost is it's like when all feels uncertain, just go back to what you can control. And like there's certain variables within your life that you can control. Like you can control what time you turn the TV off before you go to bed. You can control what time you set your alarm for. You can control like how much water you drink in a day, like things like this. So that's been one of my personal keys to success this year is just focusing on habits that are within my control to work on a daily basis. And it's not crazy habits. It's like work on this for 10 minutes. Or like the one that I've kept the most consistently in is like journal every morning. And like at the end of the day, keeping consistent to that has allowed me to just really increase what's possible because I've been starting on that note. So that's made my life so much easier because it's less like waking up and wondering like what am I doing and more so like, okay, I woke up, this is what we're gonna go do right now.
The other thing too I love about intention setting
Mm-hmm.
is and calming your nervous system like that is when we think about alignment
Mm-hmm.
and knowing where to like what decisions to make, where to be going, and things like that. Is I always think of it as like this, like kind of like this like self-regulation, like being in this zone like this. If we're below this line, we're in that place of feeling depressed, of feeling really exhausted, of feeling grief, or whatever this like really dark place is, or just low energy. And then if we're over here, maybe we're moving into anxiety or moving into anger or moving into really stressed feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to be in this like zone, like this green zone. And when we breathe like that, we're going into this zone of self-regulation where we can feel calm and grounded, and then we're not heightened emotionally. We're like it's like we've come back to our truest selves, and that's when I feel like we can get the messages that we need. Like I don't know if you found this when you were doing the guided meditation or the intention setting, is like when I was picking my word, my intention for the, like I could see a visual representation of what it looked like a metaphor that I was like, and mine is like to be like this golden powerful light that's like attracting, like
Yeah.
power, because my word for the year is power. And so I could visually see it, and now I can come back to it. And it's like when you're grounded, you can see what you need. Versus I used to have a lot of anxiety. I would be like way up here, and I couldn't come back into alignment. But when you can calm your nervous system down like that, it can feel a
I
lot easier too.
just saw a window of tolerance in the
Yeah,
chat. So
window of tolerance, totally.
I love that. No, it's true. And I think that it's this combination of like giving yourself grace for not being okay, but also like taking active steps. Like not like realizing like, okay, if you're really out of whack, like maybe closing your eyes and taking a breath isn't going to help you, but can you go outside? Can you like
Yeah.
tidy up your space? Like what can you do to just feel a little bit better?
Just a touch, yeah, because that's like you kind of start building like building up to it versus feeling like you need to change it all. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. One of the other things that's helped me feel in control is making my to-do list, and not just a to-do list, like, but I think that you actually talked about this, like thinking about the outcome of the action. I think you've talked about that where it's like you're not just taking the action to make the action. Like I'm not like you're thinking about what's on the other side of the action that you're ultimately creating. So making your to-do list with this in mind. So
Totally. Yeah, like I call it don't work on something, work on like create a result. So, and that this is kind of getting into more of the masculine side of things, but like I
we're
used
flowing.
we're going into the flow in the masculine, right? And like I used to just work hard at things, and it would just take as long as it took, and then I could work so long, and then my time became more and more constrained. And when I realized that you can produce a result and not just work on something, you get something done faster, and you actually give yourself a sense of power and like progress and motivation, because you're starting to see yourself making that progress rather than just working on a project for a long time. So instead of working on something when you go to create, which is what we'll do in a little bit, creating that plan is to decide, okay, this is what I'll produce at the end of it, rather than feeling like I have this constant stress on the back of my, like, that I need to remember everything, or like, what if I forget something, or like this thing isn't done yet. It's like, okay, I'm going to produce this result, and then I know I did enough and I can let go.
I would say my final. So my main tips and strategies for this week would be setting your intention, creating your reoccurring habits, and I would just say the last one in terms of planning, like obviously writing your actions out the night before. With the start of this new month, it's just letting right now be your starting point. Is like the other thing that I've really found is I think that this past month, like if you weren't making mistakes, you probably weren't living. Like it's like we ultimately like we're 1 month into a new year, but it's okay if things aren't where you want them to be, because you can always make the conscious choice that like this is my starting point, and like I'm going to fully embrace where I'm at because this is going to be my success story one day. And like
Yeah, like
just
this, there's a reason this happened to me. Like there's a gift in
mhm,
this, and I'm gonna figure it out later. I just don't know what it is
like
yet.
letting it be messy, letting your life not be perfect, like just embracing the chaos of it all, and like not like knowing you're not alone either. And I found that like when I used to judge myself for my circumstances, I was judging everyone else who was experiencing those things too. And that's not how you grow. Like you grow by accepting fully where you're at so that you can move to that next destination, that next location, that next spot.
Totally.
So
And one thing I read about that recently that I've been telling everyone
mm,
who was willing to hear me, because I'm like,
tell
this
me.
really blew my mind, with my clients, with friends
Yeah.
of mine, is and I don't know if you're like, for those of you watching, if you're if you resonate with the word high achiever. I am definitely a high
Mhm.
achiever. I always have big goals. And the problem that I didn't realize is sometimes I would have this ideal place, and
Mhm.
I was like constantly trying to measure up. Like my mom would say, like, oh, you have such high expectations, but I don't want to let go of my high expectations. But
Mhm.
the what I read was is that when we're constantly comparing to our ideal selves, it's like the
Mhm.
horizon. Like when you're walking towards the horizon is always moving. You're never going to hit it. It's always just going to keep moving forward. And the problem with the ideal self is that our ideal version or our goal is always going to keep moving forward. And if we're always comparing to that, then we're going to feel like I'm never enough. I've never done enough. This isn't good enough. Versus if say you're here and you're starting to move towards this ideal self, and it's kind of going like this, right? But if you
Mhm.
start looking backwards at the progress you've made, that's when you're going to start to feel that momentum and notice how far you've come, rather than always comparing to this gap. You want to be in the gain.
Because it's in the now. Like if you're
Yeah.
looking towards becoming, it's yeah, I think that I would really summarize that as like radical acceptance of
Mm-hmm.
just like where you're at, acceptance of yourself, and accepting like where you're at right now is perfectly fine. And it's like
And
it's
also,
perfect.
you can still have goals. Like, because sometimes I think
Mhm.
radical acceptance, I'm like, yeah, like, but I want to keep moving forward. Like, it's both,
It
right? Like,
is.
radical acceptance is like accepting your goals and accepting where you want to go, but also like, seeing where you're at. Like, both. It can be both.
Exactly. And that's why I love like the ending and the beginning of a new
Mm-hmm.
month, because it really is like the perfect combination of both of those things, and it also takes the pressure off of it needing to be like new year, you can't set goals for another year, like hope you chose well for 2024, otherwise you have to wait
Yeah,
until
and that feeling of
2025.
like, what if I don't accomplish my goals, or
Mhm.
like all those kinds of, yeah, I like that it's like you can always kind of reset at the end of each month.
Yeah. So with that said, those were my tips. What would you like to share in terms of how you structure your week and approaching just through a place of letting things be easy?
Totally. So the first thing that I would say, so I mean this is going to be a modified version of what I teach. So
Hmm.
I kind of combine the intuitive feminine side with like the masculine strategy. So we're going to go into the masculine side of things. And by masculine, if you're listening and you're like, what is she talking about? I mean, like the goal setting, the going after things, like the strategies, the to-do lists, like achievement, that kind of masculinity, not like men versus women. So what I teach is called the intentional 10. So it's like how you can spend 10 minutes at the beginning of your week and save an hour or more. But it depends what your work is like. Because honestly, it can save you 5 to 10. Like it can be huge. And the reason that it's so important is if you have a limited amount of time to produce something or to work on something or to create something, this can really help us like focus in, because sometimes when we get to a new task, say we come to our desks in the morning and we're like, okay, what do I need to work on today? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And then someone you work with derails you or talks to you about something else, or you're like, well, maybe I should clean up my desk first. And you have all these choices. It contributes to decision fatigue. And you can waste 10 minutes just focusing in on what you're going to do in the morning. And if you do that every morning, that's like 50 plus minutes wasted. So if you do that every morning, at lunch, anytime you take a break, all of that like deciding what you're going to do can really waste a lot of your time and a lot of your energy too, that you could be pouring into, because decision fatigue, right? Like as entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur watching, but even if you work in a work life, I'm sure it's true too. Like we make 1,000 decisions a day. So if you're wasting all your time on little decisions, like should I clean up my desk first, or should I dive into which project, it can really zap your energy and your time. So that's how you can save an hour a week, is if you avoid all of that mental negotiation, which is what I call it, mental negotiation. And you want to decide first at the beginning of your week how your week's going to roll. So the first thing that I do, and you can do it actually if you're here with me, I've already done it, so I do it on Fridays.
I have my Ziggy planner.
You got your planner, so I'll show you. If you've got your planner, do it with us. So the first thing that I teach is like setting your intention. So Allison and I are like same page. There's a reason I was like drawn to Allison and so first thing I want to do is like set my intention, my goal, my focus for the week. You can decide the word that resonates most with you. So your intention for the week, right? So that's what I start with. And then it depends. If you're in a place where you're like on Sunday, you're doing it on Friday or on Monday morning, and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do this week, I don't know how the heck I'm going to go through it, then I would do a brain dump of everything that's on my mind. If you don't have that, you can skip this step. But what I would start with is, if you do have a lot, you brain dump absolutely everything that you're worried about, that you think you might have to do, your like to-do list. If you've got a running to-do list, you don't need to do this step. So intention, and then you do your brain dump. What are all the things I need to do today or this week? Then from there, and I won't do it fully in real time, but you can do it along with us if you want, because it can take a little bit of time to do. It takes me 10 minutes, but usually when you start, it takes about 3 weeks to kind of get into this groove. It usually takes maybe 20 to 30 when you're starting. So you do your intention, you do your brain dump, and then from there, you choose your top 3 priorities that are going to move the needle in whatever you're trying to accomplish. So in your work, in your personal life, in your business. Make sense so far, Allison?
So do you pick one for each? You pick like one, or is it just in those 3 areas?
I think it depends on what my big goal is. I mean, I have, when I've been really focused in on priorities, I have one for my kids, one for my personal life, one for my work, and one for like adulting, like being a responsible parent and homeowner and everything. And then other weeks I'll just do it for my work, or I'll just do it. So usually I always do it for my work, but sometimes I might add in another part of my life that needs to be accounted for. So oftentimes like that's if there are any moms watching, for like that would be with my kids, or maybe like sometimes I've had clients who do it and they bring in their health goals. Like they want to make sure that they're working towards something in their health. So they add, is this like, yes, I think, I thought someone had a question. Sorry. So I would just do it like, depending upon what your goals are and what your priorities are. I decide on those first. So that's even a great question to think about, is like, what am I moving towards right now, and what do I want to focus in on, and do I want to schedule those?
A priority really is like a targeted intention too. It's
Yeah,
really,
exactly. It's all related to your intention.
yeah,
Totally.
I love this. Okay, so you do your intention, your brain dump, your top 3 priorities, and
Yeah.
then what comes next?
So then it's kind of like, oh, I should have brought an example, but what a lot of us do, and this is what I used to do, is I would just work on things whenever I could. And it was kind of like I had a to-do list, but it was a bit haphazard. And what I realized is, if you're trying to fit in, and maybe you've seen this, Allison, and anyone watching, that visual of like sand and rocks in a bowl or in a jar. Have you ever seen that?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's the idea of, if we put our priorities in first into our jar, like into the week, there are big rocks. They're what matter most to us. We put those in first. Then we put in smaller rocks that are also important. And then the sand, or the last few things that are just random things that get thrown into your day and your week, they kind of filter in. But if you don't put your priorities in first, and you don't schedule them in first, then the sand and all the other things that aren't important to you are going to come in first, and you won't have room for your priorities in your jar.
Total sense.
Yeah. So that's the last piece I'll end on. And obviously there's more steps to it. I'm thinking about creating a guide on this, actually, for entrepreneurs. I have one for teachers, but if you're interested, send me a DM. I'm thinking about it. It might be a guide that I create. But
we love our Sunday planning. So
yes,
we're all about getting all our
the planning, right?
All our to-dos.
So then the last thing is
in
to
here.
think about those priorities and when you're going to do them, and to create a time amount for those things and what the result is that you're going to produce. So for example, for me, on Tuesday, I'm doing a new workshop. It's a free workshop, and it's going to be about systems in your business and how to create personalized systems that work for you, that are intuitive, we'll say. So I'm creating that on Tuesday. Right. And so on Monday, one of my top priorities is, I have it kind of in my head, but I need to refine it, get my slides ready, and like what I'm going to talk about for Tuesday. So that is a top priority for me in my week. So I made sure to schedule that in on Monday, and I gave myself a time amount, like an amount of time that I'm going to have that result created. So I'm not just going to work on it. And so now I don't have to stress, like, I haven't finished my slides. I'm not ready for Tuesday. I'm not, like, I'm going to be honest, like, it's not ready yet, but I know it's going to be ready for Tuesday because I've created that result that I'll produce on Monday.
I love that. It takes okay, this is like a new, I don't know, you'll probably see this in my copy somewhere this week, but it's like taking the guesswork out of success.
I like that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to be writing about that in some capacity this week, but it's true. Like, you can control your variables to a degree where you know that your success is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I love this because, like, I really do view priorities as really focused intentions.
Yes. Because your attention is one of your most valuable resources.
It is, because it's like, it's your target. Think about your precious energy, and it's just so focused and so targeted, and it's the practical steps behind it. And also, there's so much peace in, like, knowing that it's enough. Like, for you, having this on Tuesday, because you have the system in place and because you've deemed it important what you're focused on, like, you're not stressed out. Versus, like, that could be a very different experience if you didn't trust yourself.
And that's when you know you've done enough too. Like, a lot of my clients have said, like, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like, oh my gosh, what day is it? Oh my gosh, what do I have to do? What if I forgot something? And like, they have so much in their mind. Like, did I do enough? Did I get enough done? Like, and you don't have that sense of like, oh, I've completed. But for me, once I know I've completed my top 3 priorities every day, I've completed my priorities for the week, like, I feel good. Like, I know I did what I needed to do, and I can let go and be present with my kids and be present with my loved ones, rather than feeling like, and I mean, I love my work.
And that feeds
really
into your energy even more, though, because then it's like you're showing up fully in every area instead of like chasing an outcome.
My last tip, and I won't go into all the steps because I don't want to overwhelm everybody. The last thing I would say, the other thing is, like, when you're working on something, you're producing a result, is also leaving buffer time. So when you're scheduling your stuff and when you're going to put in where, is to think about where you're going to purposely add in buffer time, and that will account for if something comes up that's out of your control, if you get sick, if something happens, you get stuck in traffic, or like something takes you longer than you think it's going to take. When you purposely schedule in buffer time, I usually do it on Thursdays.
Okay.
That way, you know you're still going to get your most important work done because you've given yourself some space.
I love that. So that's amazing. I think that between the combination of everything that we've talked about today, I think that everyone watching has all of the tools that they need to make
Totally.
this a week full of like structured flow.
Yes.
Again, like that's
Structured flow, and starting with the intention first
mhm,
and then backing it up with the strategies rather than only being in the masculine strategies that going.
exactly. I think that sometimes working hard can do more harm than good. It's not that you shouldn't work hard towards the things that you're looking to accomplish, but it's just thinking about what you're even looking to gain as a result of those actions. Because the energy you put into something is the energy you get out of it. Like the
Mm-hmm.
energy you put in determines the result. So being aligned in your actions as you're taking them goes so far
Yeah.
into experiencing what you're seeking. So these were
And feeling like,
amazing.
just to, even if you're new to the word aligned, like feeling aligned in your actions, like knowing intuitively like this is right for you, this is, sometimes
Mhm.
it might feel out of your comfort zone, but you ultimately know like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this feels like right for me,
Feels it.
I'm feeling in flow with it, I'm feeling good with it, rather than always like pushing and feeling this resistance, like this like I'm up
Shouldn't.
against a wall. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, is there any, I mean, that was, I think that we've really prepared for the week, unless anybody has any other questions or anything else to add. I know that I'm personally really excited for this week. I mean, my favorite practice is like, I don't know, I'll get off of here and like make myself tea and like read and just dream about this upcoming week.
Awesome.
So yeah. Well, thank you so much to everybody who joined live or I'm looking to, yes, of course. I'm looking to like see the comments. That's why I keep like craning my neck because of my like setup here. But Lauren, thank you so much. And where can we find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great, and I loved all the comments. I see like Jennifer and Megan. I didn't want to interrupt Allison when you're talking, but it's so great to have you here. So you can follow me on Instagram. I'm tagged below, and my handle is laurenmonique.business. And it's actually a new account because again, I'm following my path on alignment. I used to be at laurenmonique.teaching, which you can still find. But this is my new account because I'm feeling much more aligned in this work that I'm doing. So yeah, I would love to see you there. Say hello. Let me know how it went when you watched the live. It would be great to connect with you.
Amazing. And definitely let us know if you get that guide that comes
Yeah,
out for.
I'm thinking about it. I'll chat with
Okay.
some more people, and if it's more, I'm still deciding. It's coming. That's actually one of my priorities this week is to decide on my next guide, the next thing that I'm going to create. So test things out. We'll see how it goes.
Amazing. Amazing. Will definitely keep us posted. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. And I'm so excited. As I mentioned, my group program, Align Me, opens tomorrow. It's all about alignment in your life. And it's about not doing it all on your own
Mm-hmm.
anymore. We're not, lone wolf syndrome is out the door. It's all about community. And it's all about taking aligned, inspired action to create the life of your dreams. So,
Yeah.
with
And
that,
having met Allison in person, like Allison has the most beautiful energy. And I really like, I feel like you're very wise beyond your years. Allison's younger than me. So she has this very wise, like beautiful energy. And I think you've already accomplished so much in your life. I think, yeah, it would be great to learn from you because just like being able to find what you want to do in an aligned way. Yeah, I love it. So awesome. I'm so excited for you.
thank you so much. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your night, and we will see you back next week, Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Love you so much. Have a great week. Bye.